Welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. If you're new, today's video is going to be a little bit different. I asked you guys on my Instagram to do anything, basically respond with anything, questions, beliefs, or something like that. But I want to talk about faith, spirituality, religion. Talking about this stuff is so interesting to me. I don't know why, but I can literally just sit down and talk for hours about what people think of the afterlife, what people think the reason and purpose is behind why we're here. All of it is just so intriguing to me. So I'm gonna go through your responses. I haven't even been through your responses at all yet. This is just a discussion. In no means am I trying to push anything or say my way is the right way or anyone's way is the right way. This is just solely conversational talk. If you guys are really strong on your opinions and you don't like talking about this stuff, I recommend to just click off. We're gonna have an open discussion here. So my cousin actually said we're probably just dead after we die. It's a little scary, but now I feel like I can really live, you know? That's really scary. I feel like that would make me not really want to really live, if that makes sense. Have you heard of Jehovah's Witnesses? No, I haven't, but I have someone in my mom's life that I knew was raised that way, got out of it, and then her family disowned her. I know that they also don't celebrate certain holidays, but that's all I really know about Jehovah's Witness. I don't know too much about them. Have I always been a Christian? No. So I was raised Christian Baptist. Like I remember going to church. My mom like would make us go on Sundays occasionally, but it wasn't like strictly implemented. As I got older, I just was really questioning, which I think is very common and very normal. If someone just tells me something and it doesn't make sense, I'm not gonna just solely believe it because that person told me. Like I need to experience it for myself to kind of figure out if it's truth or not. And I think that's a problem a lot that we have with certain religions or belief systems, is that we are told what is right and we're told what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, but why can't we question that? I'm a millennial and the generations below me are more encouraged to question. I'm not gonna just take what they tell me at face value. I can use it, take it with me to guide me through my life, but I'm not gonna like live by a rule book that is not my rule book. What do you think happens to us after we pass? Honestly, I always felt like there's something after, but that's again just because of what I was told. And it's also really scary to think that there's not something that happens after we pass. That would be terrifying. And I think the unknown itself is also super terrifying, but if we knew, it would be even more terrifying. I read this book called Life After Life. He's a doctor, Dr. Raymond A. Moody Jr., I think his name is, and he studies near-death experiences. So people who have passed on, but like were resuscitated or they were very near to death, technically, clinically dead. And they all, whether they have different religions, different areas where they grew up, they all have certain common themes in their near-death experience. And in that book, he goes through them. So for example, everyone sees a light. There's also a Netflix documentary that just came out. I watched the first episode. I forgot what it's called, but I'll pop it here. Dr. Raymond A. Moody was actually mentioned in it, and he talks and goes into further detail about that. There's a feeling of bliss. So I think that stuff is real. Like those people experienced it. They came back and they talked about it. A lot of people say, oh, it's your brain going crazy like before you pass and like all the chemicals and stuff. But if someone's clinically dead, their brain levels were like this. There's a specific girl that was like in surgery and she was clinically dead and the brain activity was like a line like this. Like there was nothing. So it can't be her brain. Yet she knew what the doctors were doing on her. And it's like, you can't even explain it. Whether there's a heaven, whether there's a hell, I don't know. I personally believe that our souls are more pure and bliss and it goes to a different realm or something. I don't know. What do you believe the point of human existence is? I have no freaking idea. I think we're the only species that if we were taken out of the circle of life, life would get better. We're disrupting the circle of life. Sometimes I think like, what if we're not even meant to be on this earth? Like what if we're like an alien experiment or some sort of simulation where they like plug us in to see what happens? Technology is crazy. Like we created technology. Like it's just insane to think about. Comment down below too. I want you guys to join the conversation because I love talking about this stuff. If you guys have some really weird thought-provoking stuff that makes me go, oh my gosh, please comment down below. How is the Bible in 52 weeks? Saw your post about it and now I'm curious. I made the intention this year to read the Bible fully because I watch Elevation Church on Sundays. Sometimes I'm a little bit confused because he'll talk about certain stories in the Bible and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So I was like, I'd want to know like what he's talking about. So now I'm like studying the Bible. There's this journal, I'll leave it linked down below, called Read the Bible in 52 Weeks, and it's a journal / reflection for women, but you can honestly do it men can do it too, and I'm sure there's a men version out there somewhere. You read certain excerpts of the Bible and she'll explain it to you in kind of like more modern day contemporary stuff, and you reflect on certain questions that she asks you, kind of implementing those stories and like the meaning behind those stories, the purpose of that, the metaphor of the stories, whatever you want to call it. I love it, but I didn't realize the Bible is super barbaric. That era in itself is very barbaric. I feel like the more we evolve, the less barbaric we're getting, and the more like compassionate. Our intelligence grows, but our empathy grows with it. I really like it. I really do like it. 'Cause sometimes I'll read something and I'm like, why do people study this? Like, this is crazy. But then she'll like relate it and talk about the theme and the purpose of that story. So I look at the Bible as not as literal. There's good story and messages in it, just like any book that I read. Every religion kind of has the same common themes. Thou shalt not kill, like be a good person, don't judge. Why is that book in particular touching so many people, or is a guidance throughout history? Like there has to be a meaning behind it. So I'll like take that over a new self-help book, you know, for example, that was just made last year. I love it. I love it. Do you think that people would still be religious if poverty, war, diseases didn't exist? Honestly, I feel like people get into religion because they have some sort of problem and they're looking for something bigger than them to believe in. After my dad passed, I understand now too how people cope with really tough things, and that's what they're looking for. Kind of an explanation as to like why bad things happen, but at the same time, a lot of poverty, war, and diseases start because of religion and because of, you know, opinions and all this stuff. So it can go both ways in my opinion. In order to survive this world or to live a fulfilled life, you need something to believe in. Whether that's God, whether that's the universe, whether that's just some sort of faith. Like it really makes life so much easier, and you understand it more and you're able to cope with certain things better. When you think of a typical Christian, what comes to mind? I hate doing this because it's super judgmental, but pre like 2020, I thought of people who were super judgmental. I thought of people who, you know, didn't like gay people. But the more that I get into faith or spirituality or whatever, the more I understand that everyone's generally the same. They want to be good, they're doing good, but there's certain extremism that I personally don't like. You hear these stories online, or like you hear these things from people who are telling you about their experience, but again, that's not my experience. Like any Christian that I've ever met has not been like that. Most of the people are not, and they're just trying to do their part to be good and be a better person. It's your personal journey. This is something that I've learned over the past few years, is you can't label people. You can't label yourself. You can't label Christians. You can't label religious people. When you're doing that, look at what you're becoming and look what you're doing. If we are judging, like deep down, why? Why are we doing that? How do you keep reminding yourself a right direction spiritually? I tend to lose my way daily. I think always just waking up and just trying to be the best person that you can be for yourself and for others and for this world. That's what like brings me happiness. I just am happier as a person when I have something that I'm working towards spiritually, whether that be, you know, the law of attraction, or just questioning things, or diving into certain texts like the Bible. I love studying, and when I study good, I feel good. Furtick's net worth is estimated at 55 million. Should faith be that profitable? Thoughts? My thing before diving into elevation was I don't like organized religion. I thought it was a profitable kind of thing, and it takes away from like the message that they're portraying. From what I know of the Furticks, I personally trust him, and I feel like he speaks in my way. That's another thing too. You should find a faith that you relate to. I found him on YouTube because he talked about anxiety or something, and it had nothing to do about Bible or church or anything like that. Like, I think the title says something about anxiety, but it was one of his sermons, and I was like, I really like this, and I like how he takes the Bible and relates it to, you know, normal things that people don't really talk about in church. It's not so traditional. It made me a better person. I really liked it. So that's what works for me. Whether you do it this way or this way, you're gonna get pros and cons, and people are gonna judge you and tell you what you can and can't do. And I think that he does so much more than just preach. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he shouldn't profit from it. Like, that's his business side, but there's also the side where he's, you know, a sermon, and he puts the YouTube channel out there for free. From what I've seen, he does really great things for the community. He does really great things for people. He is also a businessman and deserves, you know, just the same as much as if you wrote a book and created a worship music group. Do you think that you can have multiple belief systems or religions at the same time? Absolutely. I believe in somewhat astrology. I don't believe in it solely, but I listen to it and it's like a guidance. I believe in, you know, the power of thought. I believe in certain Christian theologies. I believe in certain Buddhist theologies. Like, I take a little bit of everything. Do you consider yourself a Christian or having a relationship with God? I have a relationship with God. I don't think of him as like a person. I think of like a light and like a higher being and the highest being. Someone had mentioned that in a previous video and I was like, that's a perfect example. I think we all ultimately believe in something bigger than us. I personally call my being God or a light. And do you consider yourself Christian? No, I don't like labels. That's something I will never do. I feel like when I do that, I put a box for myself and it's just not, it's not a good thing for me personally. Do you believe in spirit guides? Absolutely. I feel like people are on the other side helping me guide my way. I want to have what you have, that feeling that you get with church and God, but I can't. Again, explore your options. Like, if elevation and Christianity don't work for you, try something else. It's really rewarding once you do find that, and that's what I found in elevation. Don't force it, you know? If you want to start reading the Bible but you have no idea where to begin, the 52 weeks Bible journal thing that I found on Amazon you could do, and don't feel the pressure to do it in 52 weeks. Like, just take your time with it. I love Jesus, but I don't love conventional conservative practices. People can be very judgmental and mask it with their faith. Agree. Only elevation or other sermon recommendations. I love Holly Furtick. I know she's the wife of Stephen Furtick, but when she preaches, girl, she speaks to my soul. Sometimes I wish she could speak every time. Darius Daniels is a really good preacher. He spoke a few times at Elevation and his words just speak every time too. Sadie Robertson, she's good. Sarah Jakes Roberts. I'm gonna put a sermon down called Girl Get Up. If you need a good pep talk, oh my god, she's so good. Pride in a Christian is a red flag. Labeling people and judging people is a red flag. Sorry, not sorry. Why is it so hard to talk about religion? I feel so awkward talking about God. I totally get that. If they don't understand, you look like an airhead. I think that judgment comes more from yourself than other people. I think if you talk about something to someone and they think that you're weird or whatever, what does their view of you make you say to yourself? Is anyone in your family or friend group Christian? My dad is so not like religious at all. He always called himself a scientist. I grew up with a couple of close friends going to church with them. So church has always been like in my life and Christianity has always been in my life, but there's also been people who have strayed from it or didn't believe it. So I had a little bit of everything. I'm seeing a lot of questions about different religions, like Catholic versus Christian versus this. It's all good, I think, to each their own. Do you believe that aliens exist? Yes, duh. There has to be something, whether it's a bacteria, whether it's a freaking creature, but I don't believe like they're like little green alien people. There's definitely life outside of Earth. Like, how can there not be? What if we're the aliens? Have I started praying? Yeah, I think I've always been a prayer, but I used to pray specifically to God when I was scared. I, in particular, had sleep paralysis a few times, and I remember praying to God specifically. I don't know why, because I never like really prayed to him, but I felt like he was the only person that could get me out of it. I've always manifested and like had intentions, and I think all of that is in some way praying. The difference between what I believed in the past versus now, I have experienced a loved one passing away. So now I really do have almost this sense of knowing that I never had before. And I don't think anyone will ever be able to understand it unless like you go through that. I want to believe in a higher power, but I don't want to be naive. I think believing in something bigger than you is not naive. It's just you exploring. Reincarnation, that's a really interesting thing. I don't believe in it, but I don't deem it like wrong. Teresa Caputo, who's the psychic medium in Long Island, she's on TLC. I read her book a couple years ago and she explained it. So basically, like, your soul comes to earth and you have this purpose, like whether it be patience, love, family, like there's just like a word that like your intention is to grow and learn from. There's like certain levels of your soul, and once you learn this, like you can go to the next level and the next level and the next level. Each life teaches you a different lesson. If you have an alcoholic father in one life, that alcoholic father is there to teach you something. And I love that idea. I feel like that would be such an interesting way to grow our souls or spirits or whatever. And I know people do past life regressions. They hypnotize you and then you can like recall how you died in your past life. I'll put a video down below of someone doing it, and this girl, she always had like these huge headaches, and she did a past life regression, and in her past she was like in an alligator tribe or something. Something had hit her in the head and that's how she died. And then when she did the past life regression, she woke up and she never had a headache again. And what is deja vu? Deja vu is the weirdest thing. Did I just jump parallel universes? I don't know. Have I ever been baptized? No, I haven't. Even growing up Christian, my mom never baptized me. Would I ever try try psychedelics. I wish I could, but I'm honestly just such an anxious person. I feel like I could never do that. But I know people who have, and I love reading about that kind of stuff. Someone once described psychedelics as, we would never know the stars were out there if we didn't have the telescope. And we look at organisms and bacteria and atoms and neurons and all this stuff because we have a microscope. Certain things on Earth that give us those psychedelic experiences are like the microscope and the telescope for the universe. And like a lot of people take mushrooms, for example, and they get really connected to nature and Earth, and it's like they can see the breath of like Earth. How can there not be something to it? And I know that it cures a lot of things like PTSD and, you know, addictions and stuff like that. So I love reading about it. I don't think I would personally ever do it, but I find it so interesting. A worship playlist. I've tried to get into worship music. I personally don't like it, but again, I'm not trying to like label or judge anything. So I asked you guys on Instagram, and I asked some Christian friends of mine like to send me some better worship music. So I made a playlist. I'll link down below. It's called Sunday if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. So a lot of people are asking me about certain things in the Bible or certain things in religions, and do I abide by it, like sex before marriage, kids, marriage in general. I will never not live a human experience. If I wasn't here to live as a human being and experience human experiences, what's the point? We have these feelings and these urges and these things that we can explore because we are living a human experience for a reason. That's my personal opinion. Any Christian book recommendations? I don't know, but I have some on my list that I'm gonna read through. And not Christian, but just more religious. Oh, I kind of like this. Religion Kills, God Saves. I didn't say it. The reason that I like my specific church is because that's where I'm feeling more comfortable and I'm finding myself be better and feel better. It's just like a collective group of people that I personally align with. I really like Elevation because it is very non-traditional, if you will. It just makes me happy. And I have not been this happy in so long. I feel like 2020 guided me here, and all the stuff that I went through last year was to bring me here, and I'm seeing so much of my life improve because of it, and I'm gonna keep doing it and be good and be better for myself and other people. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Please comment down below some things that are super thought-provoking. I love that stuff. Thank you guys for answering or asking or doing your thing on Instagram. This is so much fun. I love you guys so much. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you guys all in a future one. Love you.